Hey Hair Beauties, we're Kristen, Ashley, and Stuart. We're two motivated hairstylists who are linked by our passion for hair and our love for each other.
We've both enjoyed a successful career behind the chair, and we want to share some of the things that we've learned over the years to help make that happen for you.
We plan on inspiring, educating, and motivating all of you. And hopefully along the way, you'll also feel like you're married to hair. Hello, Hair Beauties, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Married to Hair podcast. In this episode, we're going to talk all things FOMO. And I don't know about you guys, but I get FOMO so bad.
I think we've both got FOMO this weekend.
Yeah, we definitely had FOMO this weekend. This weekend was a big industry event. It was actually Color Zoom, and that's an event that both Stuart and I have had the chance to attend, as well as work kind of backstage. Stuart got to do some photography for Goldwell Canada last year.
And Kristen has competed and won silver at this event in 2016. So we have a ton of connection to this event. And not being there this weekend, we've got FOMO real bad.
No, definitely. And us not being there wasn't anything else to do than just money, really. It wasn't in our budget this year whatsoever.
Yeah, and it's really tough when you realize that just because of other priorities, things like this podcast, we had other places that we needed to prioritize, and we couldn't get there. And we love the event. We love going. We love being around all those people. The event itself is incredible, but I think for me, and I don't know about you, for me, just being there with all of those incredible stylists, having those interactions, hearing their stories, seeing their work, I find that to be the most inspirational part.
Yeah, like Stuart, it's the networking, really, truly, right?
100%.
It's seeing all of these stylists from all around the world that are just as passionate as you are about the industry. Everyone get together and they're releasing a new fashion trend, and it gets everyone just so hyped up and amped up to go back and show their clients behind the chair what's the new stuff, what's coming out.
And it really makes you feel like part of a worldwide sort of association of people that we get to go, halfway around the world and meet, friends that we've spoken with on social media from Singapore, and talk to them and, meet them in real life. Like it's just such an incredible opportunity.
It definitely is. And I feel like FOMO is something that we all deal with all the time, especially through, it kind of came about because of social media.
Yeah, I think so.
And the idea of everyone kind of living that highlight reel through their social media. So you get to see like all of their highs, but none of their lows. And it can actually cause a lot of anxiety for a lot of people, especially me, when I see people get opportunities or get to do these different things. And you want to be there too. You want to experience that too.
And the riskiest part is that you might end up saying the phrase that we've all said in the past, which is, aren't they so lucky?
Oh, that really annoys me so much.
We've both been the sort of target of that expression, I think, in the past. People looking at some of the things that we get to do and say, oh, you're so lucky that you did that. But believe me, for every single person that you see on Instagram, on social media generally, at Color Zoom, all of these things, in this industry, you work for what you get.
Yeah, 100%. I would say a lot of the different things that maybe I've been given opportunities or awards or things like that. And anytime I hear that, oh, you're so lucky, oh, like your name is being announced again or this or that or whatnot, I think it marginalizes how much hard work has been put behind the scenes to do that. How many sleepless nights when it comes to a photo shoot, how many hours, like there's times, I know for the last shoot I just did for my master colorist shoot, it was 2 full days where we didn't stop. Did I even take a break?
I don't think so.
Like it was, I want to say prep day was about 13, 14 hours. I maybe stop to go to the bathroom. Like, I didn't stop to even do anything else. I was just working on model after model after model.
I was literally feeding her pizza while she was coloring hair.
Yeah, he was literally holding pizza so I could take bites as I was coloring because I didn't have the time to even sit down to do anything else because we had to get 5 models done.
Yeah, now guess what? We've learned from that, and we're not going to do that again. But that wasn't what you saw on Instagram.
No, not
All
at all.
you saw was the cool behind the scenes stuff and the how awesome is this? This is such a great time.
And I cannot wait to share with you guys my collection because it's so good.
And we're really proud of it. But again, it wasn't luck. It was a lot of hard work. So for all of those people that we see at Color Zoom and you know, we know and we love you guys, we know that you've put a ton of work into doing whatever you do behind the chair or in front of a camera to get yourself to that point. And we're really proud of you guys. But we still feel like we're missing out.
No, 100% on that for sure. Well, I mean, even in like day-to-day life behind the chair, I think that a lot of us see FOMO from, again, going back to social media, right? Like we see FOMO from people posting like beautiful hair photo after beautiful hair photo, and maybe someone has the clientele that you want to have, or aren't they so lucky that they get to have all these rainbow colors or all these blondes or whatever it may be. And because, as we said in social media, it's sort of more of a highlight reel, we're not actually seeing all of the root retouches or all the boring haircuts that they're doing, you know, quote unquote boring. But we're not seeing any of that stuff, right? We're only seeing what they think is the best. We're seeing the highlight reel.
And it's so true. What we end up posting is supposed to be the representative of the best things that we do. And the nice thing about putting effort into those things is that after a while, when people see that this is sort of almost, if I can put it this way, the brand that you're building for yourself, you're going to end up having more of those kinds of clientele because of having done that. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I definitely think it's really fair to say. The more stuff that, even just recently, I mean, I'm a blonde specialist behind the chair, but I do a lot of color work. Mainly, majority of my clientele is color work. I do cut and style and everything else, but I cut and style the clients that I color. I'm not necessarily getting clients in that are just cut and blow dry clients. Everyone is for color.
And that's kind of how you've branded yourself, right? That's what you were looking to do.
Yeah.
So you've built that for yourself.
Yeah, but I would say even more so, I think we were talking to a friend the other day and she was looking at my Instagram and she's like, oh, like, are you just specializing in blondes now? Because I actually just started curating my feed to just be more blondes. Because I decided, like, I love doing color. I love all color, but I do love doing blondes more. So if I curate my feed to being more blondes, I'm going to attract more blonde clientele, which has happened.
So can we say then that in a way you kind of curated your Instagram to reflect what the thing was that you felt like you were missing out on? You felt like, I want to see more of this in my chair, so therefore I'm kind of positioning myself to attract more of that clientele?
Yeah, you could almost say like I'm manifesting that.
Right. And I think it's also fair to say that because you had that feeling, instead of letting it feel like a negative and sit inside you and say, oh, I wish I had more of that, you went out and did very specific things. You took very specific steps to make sure that you could put more of that in your chair. Is that right?
Yeah, and I would say that kind of goes back to, I know we always touch, or we have in the past, like touched on goal setting a little bit too. And
boring.
No, but it's so true.
It's so boring.
You need to have goals.
And yet she's 100% right, but I find this boring. Thankfully, she's really good at explaining it in a way that makes a lot of sense.
So, thanks, Stuart. But basically, what I like to do is I like to write down my goals. So if your goal is to have more blonde clients behind the chair, or to do more rainbow colors, or maybe to win a Contessa Award or Color Zoom or something like that, you need to write these things down because you need to know what those goals are so you know how to achieve them. And then what I like to do is break down those goals. So I have my 1 year, my 5 year, and my 10-year goals. And I like to break it down of what I need to do to get myself to that goal. Because if you don't break it down, you don't make it easy steps or like bite-sized pieces, you're not going to get there, right? So it's about making everything more manageable. So if your idea is you want to get more blonde clientele, then you need to start taking pictures of more of your blonde clientele. You need to start curating your Instagram feed to look like that's all you do, because then you're going to attract more of those clients.
And let's be clear too. If you don't know how to do that, or you don't feel comfortable doing those things, there's so much out there that we can learn to get better at it.
Yeah, if you just go to YouTube and you just like search up anything, from how to curate my feed or the best systems to use when you're planning posts or anything like that.
How to take a great iPhone picture of hair.
Exactly.
You can find information on all of that stuff. So, we don't have anything holding us back from being able to do those things, except turning those anxious moments, those things that make us feel, oh, I wish I could do that, into positive.
Yeah, and to kind of touch on that a little bit more, even for myself, like the salon that I'm in, we're essentially in a basement. Like we have ground floor windows, but we're essentially in a basement. So we don't have a lot of natural light. And to take those photos, I want to see a lot of natural light, just like a big bright window, which is going to create a lot of that natural light. I'm not a big fan of the ring light photos. I feel like a lot of times the ring light can kind of almost, well, if it's a cool light, it's going to change the color, or a warm light, it's going to change the color. But I don't like how it's exposing that photo at all.
Yeah, it usually ends up making, especially in the context of how most people are using a ring light in the salon, without getting super technical, because Kristen's looking at me like, Stuart, you're about to get super technical, and I promised her I wouldn't. A ring light, in most cases, when it's used in a salon space, just makes the color look really flat. So when you're trying to create something dimensional, it ends up being a tough way of showing off your work to the best of its ability.
For sure. And he's kind of more so talking as just like your standard big ring light, what everyone's using, and going up against a plain white wall. The wall ends up looking gray in the photo. It's not like your best work. And for me, that's been a struggle of trying to find the location in the salon that's going to give me the most natural daylight, and then adding other light to it as well. So I do have this little mini ring light that has like a natural light setting, which helps kind of amplify it. So even if I'm taking a photo of someone's hair at 10 o'clock at night when I'm finishing, I still get some of that natural light, which is great.
But you're not shooting through the ring light, right? You're shooting with the ring light off to the side. So essentially, in a case like that, Kristen is using her ring light as a key light, as a side light that is just sort of adding dimension to the color, and not shooting through the ring light, which gives you that sort of typical flat, dimensionless effect.
Exactly.
So we do want to take a minute, though, to specifically talk to those stylists who are feeling kind of isolated. And I think for those stylists, FOMO can feel even more significant, because most of their interaction with other hairstylists ends up being on social media. And that, that highlight of life effect, that anxiety that comes along with seeing what everybody else is doing, I think can feel worse for them. Is that fair to say, do you think, Kristen?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're, working out of your home, or you maybe have one of those salon suites or something like that where you don't feel as connected with anyone else besides just your clients. You go to social media, which can be an amazing, amazing tool to feel connected. But at the same time, you're seeing these highlight reels of people working salon together and all these different things that maybe make you a little jelly.
Yeah, and there's no judgment about where people choose to do their craft, but there are definitely pros and cons to every sort of environment. So, for some of us, we have to learn to get along in a team atmosphere where, maybe not everybody's on the same page, and that can be really difficult. But today, for this episode, we're really talking specifically to those people who maybe don't get a chance to interact with other stylists as much. And we have friends that work in salon suites, and we love them. They do great work. But they also, at least in one case that I can think of, they also are educators for a color company. So we get to see them all the time. They get to come and have those interactions with us. And that's one way that they would avoid this kind of feeling of isolation.
Exactly. I would say that to avoid that, if you are by yourself, I mean, taking education is key to surround yourself with other like-minded individuals. And you're going to find that through education classes. Actually going out and going to a physical building is really what you need to do at that point, because you need to surround yourself with that. You can get lots of information online through webinars, YouTube, everything else is there, but that's not going to help necessarily that feeling of isolation. And sometimes you just need to physically be in a building.
And sometimes it's as simple as reaching out. Sometimes
Exactly.
it's all about having a conversation with somebody. I mean, we're all connected through IG and we look through other people's stories and their posts and things like that. You know, throw a DM out to somebody that you really respect and care about.
Yeah.
If you like their work, maybe a relationship can happen. I mean, Kristen, you have exactly that story, don't you?
Yeah. So I'm going to do a little story time. So shout out to my friend Kelly because this actually happened, what, in 2014, I think?
Ish.
Something like that, ish, somewhere around there. And on my Instagram, this girl kept messaging, kept liking my photos, and kept messaging me. At one point, she said, "Oh, I would love to just come and like learn from you someday." And I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, when does this ever happen? And we got chatting and found out she was in California at the time, and we got chatting about stuff. And then all of a sudden, I realized I needed an assistant for my next photo shoot. And so I just reached out to her. I said, "Hey, like, I know you said you'd want to learn from me sometime. Why don't you just come? You can like crash on our couch, hang out with us for the weekend, and just come and assist me on the shoot, and then you can be part of this." And she said, "Okay." We had never met before. She booked a flight to Toronto and she came here and we ended up becoming like instant friends. It was amazing.
Yeah, and you've since gone down to visit her multiple times. We have great conversations with her still, and we're really excited to see her again in the future. And that was a relationship that was entirely built on social media, but it started with somebody reaching out.
Yeah, and I mean, she did have to take the first step. She boarded a plane and she's like, these guys could be serial killers. Like, I don't know. She did not know us, which is like so big of her to just do that. I mean, some may think crazy, but I mean, we're nice people.
Yeah, we like
So,
to think so most of the
yeah.
time.
So, I mean, we treated her the whole time she was here. I mean, we didn't really have much to give her. Like, we had just like a pull-out couch. But at the same time, like, she helped us out on the shoot. She got to experience what it was like. I actually got to shoot that collection at the Goldwell Academy, which was exciting. So she got to see the Goldwell Academy. She got to see like behind the scenes of this whole shoot, and it was an amazing experience. And as I said, we became instant friends.
So not only do we now have a friend for life in Kelly, but we really learned something from that experience, which is that we're all part of a family in this industry. And Kristen and I very much feel a responsibility to help encourage and nurture, that in others. So by all means, reach out to us, reach out to your hair mentors, the people that you find an affinity with, that you connect with in terms of what they do creatively or behind the chair, because you never know what kind of connections you can make.
So Stuart and I actually met by just reaching out and volunteering for a hair show. That's how we met originally. So again, it's one of those things, you just put yourself out there. You don't know exactly where you can go with that.
Yeah, and I mean, that's one situation where I will say I definitely got lucky. I mean, not like that, but I mean,
Okay, Stuart, stop. Like TMI. But anyway. Oh my goodness, Stuart.
but even though we met putting ourselves out there, even though we talk about all this FOMO, even though we have built all of these relationships, um, this might seem hard to believe or perfectly plausible. Kristen and I end up often having FOMO about each other, like the things that we've had opportunities to do in our careers.
Yeah, I would say for me, especially when we first started dating, I had a lot of FOMO about his success behind the chair. Now, for me, I had moved around a lot. And when we first met in 2010, I had just moved from Kingston, Ontario to Toronto. And so obviously I had no clientele. Like, I lost all of it because it's like a, what, like 3-4 hour drive. So obviously I've lost my clientele. So I'm starting from the beginning. And after I'd been doing this for so many years at that point, it kind of felt almost debilitating, the fact that I had to start from the bottom up again. But I knew that putting myself in Toronto is exactly where I wanted to be and was where my career was going to be 5 to 10 years down the road. I knew exactly, I could envision myself of where I wanted to be. So I knew why I was doing it, but that didn't stop that feeling. So when Stuart and I first met, he had been at the same salon for quite a few years at that point, and he was fully booked constantly. Like, he had wait lists, he was on the verge of not taking new clients at that point. He was fully booked. So I had major FOMO with the fact that, there was some weeks where I made such little money that I could barely afford to feed myself. And it was really great. Obviously, Stuart helped me out with that, but it was really great that I could see how successful you could be here.
And it was funny because that's such a subjective point of view. Like, from her perspective, that felt like something that she was envious of or had FOMO about. But from my point of view, Kristen was a far more talented stylist than me. She had been in the industry longer, had done so much creatively already at that point, and had such potential to do so much more that I already had FOMO about what she could do before she had even done it. And then once she started putting together collections and building photo shoots and storyboarding and all this stuff, I had serious FOMO. I felt like I was missing out on all of this sort of creative stuff that Kristen, to me, looked like was so easy for her, and yet I struggled with all of it. So I really felt envious of that ability that you had to envision something and put it out there into hair. And what I think was really valuable was realizing we don't have to, quote unquote, compete for the same things in this industry. Like, yes, I've been at a great salon and I've been busy behind the chair for, many years. And that's something that I'm really proud of. But that doesn't have to be your journey. You creatively have had so much success, so many awards, so many publications, published in Aesthetica China, like all of these incredible, incredible things. And I had FOMO about it. And yet, to spin this all back again, to feed into that FOMO, what can we do to help to feel like we're doing positive things with that feeling? Well, I didn't love being in front of the camera preparing models, so I got behind the camera. I started shooting instead. And that was a great decision for both of us, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. I feel like even when, and I still shoot with another photographer sometimes too. I love shooting with Doug McMillan. If you guys have seen his work is amazing. And he just has such good energy. And when it comes to shooting, having the right energy on set is key to having a successful shoot. But when it comes to Stuart, we've shot some shoots together as well. And it's amazing having him behind the camera because he's picking up on things. But even when I'm shooting with someone else, Stuart is still there. He's being my extra set of eyes, almost my creative direction. And he knows my vision because of my vision boards, and he's able to pick up on little things that I wouldn't see. So he doesn't have that FOMO either. He's now included himself in that shoot. We've made him a role of my shoots, so then he can be part of that as well. So it's a collaboration versus just my shoot, right?
Yeah. And honestly, like, we have so many avenues that we've had an opportunity to go down, and it ends up that with all of the things that we look and see out there and see other people doing, and we're excited to sort of imagine being a part of that, or we wish that we could do those things. We have so much on our plate already. We've really had to start to examine, okay, how do I feel about this thing? And do I really feel like I'm missing out to the point where I need to work to include myself in that? Or do I have to realize that maybe I don't have enough time and I have to restrict myself a little bit?
I'd say time is definitely something, Stuart. Like, I still see myself, like, other artists get opportunities, and I'm like low-key a little jelly at first. I'm like, oh, why wasn't I offered that? But then I have to look at my timeline and be like, physically, when do I have time? Like, actually, I don't have time. My schedule is jam-packed. And even like this fall, there was so many things I was seeing other people do, and I was like, oh, I wish I could do that. Oh, I wish I could do that. But realistically, I physically don't have a weekend. I don't have any time from now to the end of the year at all. And yes, we're going on vacation at the end of November, which is great for like 10 days. And that's going to be an amazing experience. And yeah, that does give up a weekend that I could be working or something. But for my mental health, I need that time. So that was also trying to find that balance of understanding physically what can I do, mentally what can I do, and are you okay? Do you want these opportunities, or are you okay with not having them? So I've really had to nip that in the bud, like kind of give that FOMO, just be like, it's okay to have that feeling for a second, but realistically, you don't actually want this.
Yeah, and to quote a Dak Shepard, he talks about just in how he behaves with his kids. He talks about being very intentional, having intent with all of the things that he does. And I think the way that we can turn what could be a negative into a positive is by having intent. Like thinking about what is of value here for me? Is there enough value to warrant the amount of time it's going to take me? Or am I just feeling, like Kristen says, kind of low key jelly because I wish that I got that opportunity, whereas I really probably don't have the time to devote to it to have it make sense. And if we kind of go at it with a very sort of specific, um, uh, a specific set of expectations in terms of what can I get out of it, what do I need, what am I going to achieve by doing this, and look at it and say, does this make sense for me in my life? We can take that fear, that worry that we're missing out on things, and actually turn it into a positive. We can feed into it and make it a good thing for us in our life.
Yeah, so to kind of wrap this all up, it's okay to feel this feeling for a second, but do not let this consume you, because that's the part that's just going to eat you up. That's where that FOMO really comes in. You're allowed to have that jelly feeling for a second, but don't let it consume you. And if you feel like, you know what, I really want this opportunity, write it down as a goal. Figure out your steps to get you there, because if you can turn this jealous feeling that you're having into a tangible goal for yourself, you're going to be able to make that a reality for yourself as well.
100%.
Yeah. So that is it for our podcast today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please remember to come over to Instagram and check us out. We're married to TWO, married to hair on Instagram, and I'm KA Hairstylist. And
I'm Stuart Photo.
yeah, so come over, say hi, tell us what you thought about today's podcast, and we'd love to hear back from you guys.
Yeah, and we always want to hear from you. Any subjects that you want us to cover, anytime you want to reach out and talk to us about, collabs, anything like that, we'd love to hear about it. Hit us up at Married to Hair, at KA Hairstylist, at Stuart Photo. Thanks very much for listening, guys.
Have a great day, guys.